Okay, let me begin. I'd like to call the meeting to order and at 7:07. Good evening. I would like to begin thanking everyone for your virtual attendance this evening. It is very much appreciated since using these platforms can sometimes be frustrating. We appreciate your patience. It has been a tough 2.5 years with COVID, presenting many challenges in mental health and addictions. Pathway Serious Mental Illness has witnessed these challenges and has adapted its programs to meet these challenges. Each year, Pathway provides an education to families with loved ones experiencing serious mental illness, often with addictions. You have been provided with instructions using Zoom in your package, including how to reach us by telephone if your internet crashes. I will just go over a couple of things before we begin the meeting. We have muted the microphones of all attendees to avoid any potential distractions caused by background noise. I would ask that you keep your microphones muted until you are recognized by the chair. To ask a question, please raise your hand. When the chair recognizes you, you will be asked to unmute your microphone and speak slowly and clearly so everyone can hear you. To vote on a motion, you must have your video on and raise your hand to be counted. If you have any questions, please refer to the Zoom instructions in your package on how to contact Pathway's technical support team. Now to the meeting. I have been advised we require 5% of membership and no less than 3 members in good standing for a quorum. So I can now confirm we have a quorum. Approval of the agenda. You have been provided with an agenda which you will see on your screen. Thank you. I have a motion from Shirley Chan, seconded by Joe Gomery, to approve the agenda. I'll let you take a quick look at it. Is there any discussions? All in favor, please raise your hand. Amy, let me know when you have a count. How are we doing, Amy?
Yeah, we've got 17.
17? Okay, and opposed, please raise your hand. Just let me know when you have a count, Amy.
It's 0, Don.
Okay, motion carried. So item 3, approval of the minutes. The approval of the minutes of the March 24th, 2021 AGM. I have a motion from Joe Gormley, seconded by Kim Thomas, to accept and approve the minutes of the March 24th, 2021 AGM as circulated in your package. Are there any errors or omissions? Raise your hands if you would like to speak. Okay, I don't see anybody raising their hands. Amy, can you confirm that?
Yeah, that's correct, Don.
Thank you. Opposed, please raise your hand.
None for opposed.
Okay, motion carried. Item 4, the President's report. I hope that you and your loved ones are safe and well. The past 2.5 years have been trying for all of us in having to deal with COVID-19 and its variants. It is a known fact that nonprofit societies such as Pathway Serious Mental Illness Society plays an essential role in serving the community, and even more so during tough times. The pandemic has shown us the significance of family, friends, and how pathways can be helpful through this stressful period. We want people to feel confident to continue to use the resources that Pathways provides. Help is only a phone call away. Pathways is about and always will be about families helping families. Pathways has a history of support from its volunteers and membership. Sadly, Pathways membership and donations have been adversely touched by the pandemic, and disappointingly, we have again been unable to organize our one and only annual fundraiser, the Circle of Strength Luncheon, for the third year in a row. This is a huge blow for Pathways programs and the support we so desperately need, as we rely on your generous donations to deliver our programs that help support those families in need who need us the most. Please consider donating today to Pathways to help us keep our doors open and support the families in our community. A donation of any size can make an enormous impact to the families we support. Pathways is available to support you through the normal channels via phone and email, Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Please do not hesitate to call 604-926-0856 or email familysupport@pathwayssmi.org. On behalf of Pathways, I send a special thanks to those who have renewed their membership and continue to support us during these difficult past 2.5 years. The pandemic has been a hardship for us all. Please let me remind you that Pathways is about families helping families. I attended a monthly Pathways family support session. After the support session, I felt a heartfelt thankfulness for those attendees who gave their loving support. This unselfish and loving support reinforced my belief as to why I joined the Pathways family. It was such an inspiration knowing that other Pathways family members going through stressful times would set aside their hardships and issues to concentrate on an individual in need. I would like to stress the importance of those in need to take advantage of Pathways free programs. Your generous donations fuel our programs. Please let me list them. Family peer support. Pathways gives one-on-one support to family members dealing with a mental illness, often in crisis situations, giving members advice and support in procuring one-on-one treatment for a family member who is ill. In addition, regular group support sessions are held throughout the month to help families as they navigate through similar struggles. Family to Family. This is an 8-week educational course going into all aspects of mental illness. The Family to Family course is taught by a trained peer instructor in North and West Vancouver, Squamish, and Whistler. The Family to Family course has been taught via Zoom due to COVID restrictions, but now that COVID restrictions have been eased, we are looking to returning to some in-house teaching sessions. Pathways Family to Family course continues to be offered using Zoom as it increases our geographical reach to those in need throughout the province. Advocacy. We have advocated on behalf of individuals with mental illness and their families to care, compassion, and respect for those suffering from mental illness. Pathways advocates for families who have been lost in the system. Pathways is there to help families through their most challenging of times in dealing with issues surrounding mental illness. Education. We organize first person's presentations by a person with an illness and a family member to schools, workplaces, police departments, professional service clubs, and those who work with the public. We aim to break down barriers and fears, encouraging those who see someone showing symptoms to act quickly. Lectures and workshops. We offer lectures and workshops to families to help them learn and develop skills to support their loved ones through a system which is overburdened and complex. 2020, 2021, and the first 3 months of 2022 have shown the need for our programs to broaden due to the increasingly demand for our service. Zoom technology has allowed individuals in need from remote parts of BC or elsewhere in Canada to utilize Pathways programs of support. I would be remiss not to draw the membership's attention to all Pathways volunteers for their dedicated service, the promotion of, and the development and advocacy for Pathways Serious Mental Illness Society. We could not do the work we do without our volunteers. Pathways volunteers are our core, and they are invaluable to this nonprofit organization. It is not just one individual, but a team that helps our Pathways families in need. I would like to thank Pathways Board of Directors who have volunteered their time and leadership in helping Pathways achieve its goals. We are and we will remain a volunteer-led society with a mission of helping families, those who are dealing with all the serious mental illnesses suffered by loved ones. On behalf of Pathways Serious Mental Illness Society, I thank you all for your continued support, kindness, and generosity. So, item 5 on the agenda. I would like to state that Pathways has hired Vivian Smith as an interim executive director, who unfortunately is not able to attend this evening. Vivian, however, has prepared a short video to introduce herself.
Good evening. My name is Vivian Smith. I'm the interim executive director for Pathways Serious Mental Illness Society. It was Margaret Mead who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And that's you tonight, our members, our very supportive members, our caring board of directors, a dedicated staff, and our amazing volunteers, a small but mighty team. I am so looking forward to working alongside you over the next few months as we do what Pathways does best, and that's care for our families. Thank you.
So let's go to item 6. I will now ask Treasurer Alex Flynn to present the 2021 audited financial report.
Thank you. I only learned at 10 o'clock this morning that I was indeed presenting the financials this afternoon. So I apologize that my notes may be a little bit scarce. If Josanne can go to page 1, which is titled Independent Auditor's Report. Next one. There we go. These financial statements are prepared by Andrea from EPR, Chartered Professional Accountants in North Vancouver. The financial statements are for the year end, calendar year end, December 31st, 2021. The Independent Auditor's Report states that, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Society as at December 31st, 2021, and the statement of operations for the year then ended. The report explains the basis of the auditor's report. The audit is conducted in accordance with Canadian generally accepted accounting standards. The auditors are independent of the Society in accordance with ethical requirements. So that is, Andrea is not part of the board. He is a paid third party who has audited the statements. Management is responsible for the preparation and the fair presentation of the statements in accordance with accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations and for internal controls necessary to enable the preparation of the statements free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error. So management is the board of Pathways, of which I'm the treasurer have been since the last AGM. The auditor's objective is to obtain reasonable assurance the statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high-level assurance, but is not a guarantee the audit conducted in accordance with CSA will always detect material misstatements. A material misstatement could influence the economic decisions of the users. During the audit, the auditor identified and assesses the risk of material misstatement of the statements. The risk of misstatements due to fraud is more difficult to detect. Obtaining an understanding of the internal controls, evaluating the appropriate accounting policies, etc., have led the auditor to express a clean opinion of these financial statements. We can move to page 3, which is the statement of operations. On my screen, it's small. I hope everybody can see it. So I'm just going to go high level on the numbers with a little bit of breakdown between 2021 and 2020. These are the results for a one-year operating period, January 1st to December 31st, 2021. And the gross receipts are $373,000. This is up $125,000 from the year 2020. It is up $20,000 from BC Gaming, and that is that BC Gaming, due to the COVID crisis, was granting higher funds to societies. Other grants is up $28,000. This is a combination of new sources, including TELUS, and also increased amounts of fundraisers that have contributed in the past. We're up $35,000 for the Canadian emergency wage subsidy and the Canadian rent subsidies over the 2020 year. And our donations and fundraising was up $43,000 over the prior year. Expenses has likewise increased as we budgeted to use our increased funds through the year. Our total expenses were $314,000, up $94,000 from the $220 the year before. This is mostly in 3 areas: salaries and benefits, so hiring the staff to support the increased programs is up $88,000. Rent is up $10,000. There is also a note to the financial statements on the rent that it is under the current lease. The term goes to March 31st, 2023. And our programs in relation to family to family, new computers, the Zoom platform was an additional $6,000 over the prior year. So our surplus is just under $60,000. So our receipts were higher than our costs in the current year. The prior year, we were just at $28,000. Honestly, a goal to a society is to be spending the funds that are brought in contributed towards our programs. So we are looking at to continue in the current 2020 year is to continue expanding our services to use the surpluses we've brought in. We can move to page 4. This is the Janet Morgan Fund. We have interest earned, and we just put the interest back into the fund or into the general fund, and the fund does not change from year to year. It stands at $173,515. Page 5, statement 3 is our Family Navigator Fund, and that's at $24,000, no change. Page 6, statement 4. Sort of an allocation of our operations. There's no change to the first 2 restricted funds, and then our general fund has gone up, adding to a balance at the end of the year of $319,000, which we'll break down in more detail on the next page. If we can move ahead to page 8, statement 6. Thank you. This statement of financial position gives us a snapshot of just one day in time. So as at December 31st, The cash in the bank was $141,000, and the term deposits were $75,000. And you might ask, why have the term deposits gone down from the prior year at the end of 2020 of $119,000? And basically, it was just a timing position of when the term deposits came due. They went into the bank, and in February, they were reinvested. So at the end of February 2022, after this statement, we again had term deposits of $119,000 invested for the society. The receivables gaming account is up due to the operations creating a surplus. So there is $220,000 available, plus the Janet Morgan Fund and the Navigator Fund comes to $418,000 available for the society. Our liabilities, middle of the page, is our trade accounts payable, our government agencies payable, that is the payroll remittance to CRA, is at $12,000. So it's just one point in time, and it is paid in the following month. Deferred grants are funds that have come in from, i.e. New Horizons, that are intended to be used for the following year. So there's $21,000 that we had received to the bank in the end of 2021, but are for the operations of 2022. Our long-term debt are the two loans available for COVID purposes. There was the $40,000 one at the end of 2020, and an additional $20,000 was applied for and received in 2021. Of the $60,000, $20,000 will be forgiven if it is repaid. The deadline to repay has been extended from December.
Amanda Flynn, WhatsApp video.
Sorry.
Hello.
Has been extended from December 31st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. So overall, my comment is that the organization has funds to cover the operating expenses with over 4 months of operations available, and is in a very strong position to support all of the objectives of the society. The previous page that I skipped over, if we go back one page, statement of cash flows, and that's basically just analyzing those differences that we covered in the statement of financial position. We'll go ahead to page 9. The notes to the financial statements, notes 1 and 2, are about the nature of operations and the significant accounting policies adopted by the society. They're all consistent with what societies use in a not-for-profit. Note 3 is the detailed composition of the term deposits with maturity dates and interest dates. And as I referenced earlier, we've now renewed the next two in 1 and 2 year terms. So we're at the same position as the previous year in our term deposits. Note 4 on page 11 details the presentations of the investments in the Janet Morgan Fund, highlights the deferred gaming funds, the in and outs of the funds received, and disbursements. Closing balance that we had at the end of the year is $630. Okay, and the long-term debt gets into, again, it details the Canadian Emergency Business Account loans and their terms. Last page, 12, note 7, lease commitment. Note 8, the Vancouver Foundation. We've received the same amount close to the prior year of 2020, $16,119. And we have a balance in the fund of $334,274. And finally, just the Societies Acts requires that you disclose compensation to employees in excess of 75,000, of which there was none in 2020 and 2021. I don't know if we've received any questions from these statements going out from the members.
Alex, there are no questions in the chat.
All right. Did anybody have questions as I rush through the statements? And if you don't now, I'm happy to address any questions in more detail as they come out. I'd be happy to share with the members. It's a lot to take in all at once. Seeing no questions, Dawn, I guess we can move on to the appointing next year's auditor.
Yes. If you'd like to make the motion.
My motion was to we asked the PR of North Vancouver, and he has accepted to be the auditor next year. I propose that we recognize that in our meeting.
Okay, with that, motion's been presented. Is there any discussion? Please raise your hand. Amy, is there any hands risen that I haven't seen?
I think there's 6. Yeah.
6 or is that for the discussion?
Yes.
Okay, so that being said, can we asked that these questions be presented prior to the meeting, but if you want to take the questions, Alex, one by one, then feel free. And then maybe Amy, you can introduce who would like to ask the question.
Yeah, so if you keep your hands up, and then I will invite you to ask your question. So Joe, you're first on my screen. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Oh, I don't have a question.
Okay.
Other than the fact that I think Linda was asking who seconded, and I saw Richard seconded the motion for the auditor.
So Anne-Marie, I'm going to ask you, I've seen you got your hand up, so I'm just asking you to unmute.
Yeah, my question is in future budgets, is there going to be room for funding for peer supports?
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got someone from Sandra. I'm going to ask you to unmute, Sandra.
I'm not sure. Anne-Marie might have been asking if there was going to be funding to pay people to do one-on-one peer support. Is that what you meant, Anne-Marie?
Oh, not for volunteers. There is to train them for peer support.
Right.
So,
I just wanted to clarify that. I'm not sure.
sorry.
What her question was maybe. I
Volunteer.
could be wrong, but I think that might be what she's talking about.
Okay, no, I would, so funding for training peer support workers. Volunteers are still volunteers, so we support them getting the training and facilitating if there was any extra direct costs that they had, but we wouldn't be paying a volunteer to be the peer support worker.
Okay, I think that's all for questions, unless there are any final questions that people want to ask now. Okay, looks like you're good, Alex.
Okay, so all those in favor of retaining the Chartered Professional Accountants as EPR of North Vancouver as our accountants, please raise your hand.
Looks like 20, Don.
Okay, and just opposed, please raise your hand.
I'm just going to give everyone a second to lower their hands. Okay, so it looks like none.
Thank you, Amy. You must have a big screen. I can't see hardly any of this stuff. Mind you, I'm kind of blind myself. So, okay, Alex, thank you. Motion is carried. That we'll move on to item 8 on the agenda, and it is with my deepest appreciation that I would like to acknowledge and thank the following Pathway board members. Linda McGinn, who is stepping down from the Pathway board. Linda has given us so much of her personal time and volunteering her services to Pathways. Regrettably, board member Victoria Thomas has also stepped down from the Pathways board, allowing her much more needed time to concentrate on her family and her practice as a doctor of psychiatry. We wish Linda and Victoria well in all their current and future endeavors. Kim Thomas, who has reached her 6-year term, will be stepping off the board, but will remain as an honorary board member without voting privileges. Personally, I have reached my 6-year term and will take on the role of Pathways past president. I would like to offer our sincere thanks to our dedicated staff of Pune Julie, Valeska Gauthier, Amy Collins, Bonita Saunders, Josanne Thrin for their dedication and help in organizing and delivering our programs. Now I'd like to pass the meeting on to Joe for election of directors.
Hello, everyone. We have 9 board positions, and in 2022, we have 2 board members standing for re-election and 3 standing for the first time. Standing for re-election is Shirley Chan, Vice President and Chair of the Program Committee. Shirley also is the Chair of the Nominating Committee. And Jennifer Bednar, Chair of the Advocacy Committee. Prior to the AGM, the Nominating Committee identified 3 new board members with outstanding qualifications that they recommend to the board and who are now recommended to the membership for election. These are Dennis Whitehead, Sandra Wood, and Nancy Ford. I would like to invite each of the candidates to say a few words about themselves and their interest in Pathways, beginning with Dennis Whitehead. Dennis?
Can you hear me?
Oh, now we can.
Good. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see everybody. So I have been associated with Pathways for approximately 10 years, primarily being involved with the family teaching process. I was approached this year and asked whether or not I would consider being part of the board. I gave it some consideration. I've got a fairly long career in commercial management, and I thought that perhaps that there was something I could contribute. I've also got some marketing background. I really enjoyed doing the teaching. I found that it's really helped me over the years. I have a son, he's 36 years old. He suffered a traumatic brain injury when he was 11 years 11 years old in Mexico. And we've been dealing with that pretty much ever since. He has a number of other issues related to the traumatic brain industry. So I'm quite heavily involved in his activities and what he does, and supporting him on a day-to-day basis. That's about it. I live in Richmond. I've been in Vancouver for 40 years, and I originally came from Eastern Canada. Any questions?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dennis.
You're welcome.
Now I'd like to ask Sandra Wood for you to say a few words, if you would, Sandra.
Okay, I think that's worked finally. Sorry about that. Okay, hi everyone. I think my short bio was sent out. I've been involved with Pathways for about 8 years now, starting with taking the family to family course. I live in Squamish, and I've lived here for about 10 years. I support my family here, and I have 2 loved ones who struggle with mental illness. I love pretty much everything about Pathways, and I've been involved in family to family, hosting tables at the Circle of Strength. I've done peer support one-on-one. I facilitate 2 support groups each month, and I love every minute of it. Since I moved out here, I haven't been involved on a board, and I've done a lot of that over my lifetime, both at work and in my volunteer experience. And I found I was really missing being part of a team. And so much as I feel like I've been working with the Pathways team for a number of years, I thought it would be nice to be involved with the board and to maybe offer some of my experience and yeah, some of the things I've learned. I've learned an awful lot over the years, and gained in understanding and patience and cooperation. So I'd like to bring that to the board and see if we can move Pathways along into the future. Thank you. Any questions?
Hearing none, thank you, Sandra. I'd like to call out on Nancy Ford. Nancy?
There we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you. I retired in about 2012 as the executive director for an organization that provided services across Canada. And the inspiration was seeing what a network of families could do in order to realize a good life for their relative with a disability. And I retired in 2012, and then I saw an ad in the newspaper, in the North Shore News. They were looking for an executive director for Pathways. At that time, it was the North Shore Schizophrenia Society. And I just thought that's where I was supposed to be. And the reason that it spoke to me was because I have a son who's now 40. At that time, he was 26 and dealing with schizophrenia. And it was the North Shore Schizophrenia Society that gave us the direction and the information that we needed as a family to realize the supports and services that Danny so desperately needed and we needed as a family. So I was delighted to be offered the position of executive director and served for 5 years, and then retired. I'm past retirement age, so it was it was time to retire. And then in 2020 was invited back. I thought it was just going to be for a short term, keeping the lights on and the doors open, and COVID hit us. And so I had the the pleasure of working with the staff, who I can't say enough about, and the board and the families in moving all of the programs from in-person to online. So it was a very, very busy time. And then I was able to retire again in September. And Pathways has been just a fantastic organization since, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity of serving from a board perspective and learning more from all of the families that are involved in helping to realize the services and supports that are needed. I think that's it for now. I serve as the co-chair for the North Shore Family Advisory Committee, and also as a member of the BCSS, British Columbia Schizophrenia Society's policy committee. And so really looking hard at the BC Mental Health Act and the challenges around that. So I welcome this opportunity to work with Pathways. I guess that's it for now. Any questions?
Hearing none, thank you very much, Nancy.
Thank you.
Now, I'd like to open the meeting to nominations from the floor. May I remind you that both the nominator and the nominee must be members in good standing. Also, board members are expected to fulfill their responsibilities to the society in furthering its mission, programs, priorities, and fiduciary responsibilities. The nomination will require that a member vote up to 5 candidates. The nomination will require that members vote for up to 5 candidates. I now ask, is there any other nominations from the floor? Are
I
there
don't
any
see
other?
any, Joe.
I'm sorry?
I don't see any hands up.
Okay, I'm going to ask a second time. Are there any other nominations from the floor? And for a third time, any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I declare the returning board members, Shirley Chan and Jennifer Bednard, to be members, and that I welcome Dennis and Sandra and Nancy to the board. Now I pass the meeting back to you, Don.
Thank you, Joe. Now, the item number 9 or 10, sorry. The meeting is now open for general discussion. Is there anyone that would like to ask a question? If so, please raise your hand.
I see one there.
Sandra, go ahead, please.
My unmute doesn't want to work. Thank you, Dawn. I just was curious. We got all our information for the AGM package last night. And I wondered if, is it possible for that to come out sooner so that people have more time to read it?
Yes, it should be out sooner. I was under the impression that it had been sent out earlier than that, but I could be wrong. But you're right; it should be out a lot sooner so people can digest what is being asked.
Maybe Sandra. So it did get sent out to the registrants a week before. But if you hadn't registered a week before, maybe you didn't get the email.
I registered before the first day.
No, that's very strange.
So, yeah, okay. Okay, that makes sense that we would have gotten it sooner. So the one last night came to all the members, but the one that was sent earlier. Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, and that's a good question. It should be sent out. Giving it should be sent out a lot sooner, just to give everybody time to take a boo at what is being asked and what is being presented. Any other questions? Shirley. Shirley, you're muted. Shirley, can you
hear me now? Because I was not allowed to unmute without the
Oh.
host's permission. So, I mean, that's the lag that you see. I just wanted to point out that when it went out the first time to people who had registered, it had in fact gone out under a different label. It didn't have Pathways in the heading at all, and it may have gone into your spam. So it just said it was important information for you. That was in the heading. So you may have missed it that way, Sandra, because I know it was brought to my attention by someone who had found it and was surprised to find that it was the Pathways AGM information.
Thank you, Shirley.
Okay, I hope that's helpful. Maybe it's not, but there you go.
Amy, has anybody else got their hands up or hand up?
Not that I can see. Nope.
Okay, I'll give everybody 1 second to figure out if they would like to ask a question. And it can't be about the weather. So that being said, okay, let's move on to, well, I guess basically I have some closing remarks that I would like to present, and before I bring the meeting to a close. And I would like to thank the current Pathways board members, committee chairs, committees, volunteers, and you, the membership, for making this AGM Pathways possible. Your dedication to helping Pathways provide free services and programs is priceless and will never be taken for granted. I would also like to thank Herschel and Margaret Harden for their commitment for the betterment and advocacy for all of us who have loved ones dealing with mental health issues. The Hardens were the founders of the North Shore Schizophrenia Society, which became Pathways Serious Mental Illness Society. They provided the groundwork, or the foundation, which we could build upon. I would like also to recognize the past 2 presidents of Pathways, Cheryl Zipper and Janice Lilly, who I had the extreme pleasure of working with at a board level. I appreciate what they did for Pathways through their compassion, dedication, and leadership. They both were tough acts to follow. Finally, I would like to mention my extreme appreciation to our VP, Shirley Chan. Shirley's work ethic, compassion, and dedication goes well beyond the call of duty in being a volunteer for Pathways. Pathways is so lucky to have somebody who is willing to repeatedly step up to the plate and try to hit a home run on behalf of Pathways. This brings our meeting to conclusion. Board members, please remain online for a quick meeting after the AGM has concluded. Thank you all. Be safe and stay healthy, and good night.